Millionaire's daughter opens forbidden closet. What she finds is a shocking secret. Alice could feel the walls of her family's grand estate closing in around her. The chandelier gleamed under the heavy silence, casting eerie shadows in every corner. Curiosity clawed at her. Today was the day. She'd heard whispers, a ghost of a past lurking just beyond the polished veneer of her mother Mary's possessions. As she approached the inconspicuous closet at the end of the hallway, her heart thumped wildly in her chest. What lay behind those doors? No one ever spoke of it. The secrets hidden behind rows of luxurious dresses that cloaked a tragedy buried deep in their small town. With a trembling hand, Alice grasped the brass handle. She hesitated. The whispers of "stay away" resonated in her mind. But the weight of unanswered questions pushed her forward. The hinges groaned as she pulled the closet door open, its dark interior exhaling a musty scent. A world forgotten, and there it. Each piece told a story. A frayed red scarf, a porcelain doll with glassy eyes that seemed to follow her, and an old diary, its pages yellowed with time. Her mind raced as she flipped it open, the words leaping off the pages, frantic ramblings that hinted at fears of something sinister. She felt a pang in her chest, an unsettling connection to Isabelle, a girl whose laughter had mingled with the fallen leaves of their shared childhood. Back in school, desperation coursed through Alice. She confided in Miss Thompson, her teacher, who looked as though the walls of her own world had begun to shake. "What you found is dangerous," Miss Thompson whispered, her eyes darting to ensure no one else was listening. "You must be careful." Suddenly, the ground shifted under Alice's feet. Her mother was arrested. The town buzzed with scandal. Involved in Isabelle's disappearance. The words twisted like knives in her gut. She couldn't believe it. Her mother? The thought was suffocating. As tensions rose, fingers of suspicion pointed not just at Mary, but at Dr. Edward Parker, Isabelle's father, and the esteemed head of pediatric care, his polished reputation now crackling with uncertainty. Alice felt a swirl of fear and confusion. With every moment, she continued to dig deeper, piecing together a web of secrets. Was the real monster hiding behind a smiling mask? The stranger truths surfacing pointed to a darkness she never wanted to fathom. A chill ran down her spine as she uncovered whispers of manipulation and silencing. She could feel the grip of deception tightening around her family. Just when she thought she was close to the truth, a knock echoed from the door, shattering her thoughts. Who was it, and what did they want? Alice's breath caught in her throat, uncertainty flooding her mind. Was the closet hiding more than just Isabelle's past? The urgency to find out pushed her forward, even as the shadows loomed closer. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Alice felt her heart race as she stood frozen at the door, breath caught in her throat. The knock echoed again, firm and demanding. "Who's there?" she managed to choke out, her voice barely above a whisper. All her senses heightened, the eerie silence around her feeling suffocating. "Alice, it's me! Open up!" It was her mother's voice, but there was an urgency in it that made Alice's stomach twist. She knew her mother was supposed to be at the police station, not calling her from the hallway. With a trembling hand, she pushed the closet door wider. The musty air clawed at her, but she wasn't ready to step back. Instead, she peered into the shadowy room. The items belonging to Isabelle loomed larger in the dim light, symbols of a mystery she was desperate to understand. The knock came again, this time louder. "Alice, now!" Mary sounded frantic. The desperation made Alice's heart race even faster. She hesitated only a moment longer before finally finding the strength to turn and open the door. Mary stood there, her normally composed appearance shattered. Her eyes were red-rimmed, hair disheveled as if she had sprinted through hell to get to her daughter. "Alice, we need to talk. It's life or death." Panic rippled through her voice, drawing Alice deeper into confusion. "What are you talking about?" Alice asked, wide-eyed. "Isabelle Parker, you shouldn't have gone in there." Mary's breath cracked, and Alice felt a surge of dread flood her veins. Before she could respond, the air shifted. A shadow stretched across the threshold. A figure appeared, stepping into the light. Alice gasped, recognizing the man who towered over them. Dr. Edward Parker himself. His presence filled the space, bringing with it an electric tension. "Alice," he began, but his voice faltered as he looked at Mary, his expression darkening. "You need to listen, now." A chill raced down Alice's spine. What did he mean? As his eyes met hers, something clicked in her mind. She felt it deep, an uncomfortable tightening around her heart. "You were Isabelle's father. How—" "I know where she is," he interrupted, his tone heavy with weight. "And your mother, she's more involved than you think." Suddenly, a rush of adrenaline surged through Alice, and she felt a mix of fear and anger. "What do you mean?" she demanded, stepping forward, fists tightening at her sides. The pieces were spiraling around her, each one growing darker than the last. "Last night!" Dr. Parker stared hard at her mother. "Your mother and I, we had an arrangement." His voice dropped, the secret staggering against the walls of the hallway. "She and I were working together to keep Isabelle's disappearance hidden." Alice's hands trembled. "What? Why?" "Because," Mary spoke, her voice low and trembling. "Isabelle was not just a child to us. She knew something. We were afraid she would expose our connection to other families in town." Alice felt her world tilt. The love she thought she had from her mother twisted into something darker. "You protected him? You were involved in this?" "In her disappearance?" "Yes," Mary replied, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But there's more. Isabelle isn't dead, Alice." Shock overwhelmed her. "What?" "I did it for you, to keep you safe." Mary gripped Alice's shoulders tightly, unwavering. "You have to believe me. Isabelle is hidden for a reason, and they are coming." The gravity of each word crashed over Alice, drowning her in layers of betrayal. Her breath quickened as her mind raced. Who were they? All at once, the truth, settled like ice into her veins. The dark secrets hidden in the closet had barely scratched the surface. There were forces beyond their control. And as the weight of what her mother had done loomed large, Alice struggled within the uncertainty of both betrayal and the hope that Isabelle could still be alive. Just then, another knock resounded, louder this time, and her heart sank. This time, it didn't feel like just any ordinary knock. They were coming for something. Or someone. "Get back!" Alice shouted, pushing past her mother and Dr. Parker. The door swung open, and she braced herself for whatever would come next. The revelation was far from over. Who was truly the monster hiding behind smiles? And now, what lay waiting beyond the door? Alice swung open the door, heart hammering in her chest. She braced herself for whatever waited outside, still reeling from the revelation. But as the door creaked, her breath hitched. There, standing in the dim light, was a familiar face she never expected to see. It was Isabelle Parker. "Alice, you have to trust me!" Isabelle's voice was urgent, cutting through that haze of confusion. Her eyes darted nervously, as if she was running from something unseen. Alice felt a mix of disbelief and hope surge through her. The girl everyone had thought was missing, thought to be gone forever, stood right in front of her. "Isabelle! But how?" Alice stammered, stepping back in shock. You were gone! Everyone thinks you—" "I wasn't gone," Isabelle interrupted, her tone desperate. "I had to hide. They were coming for me." A shiver of fear squeezed around Alice's heart. Mary's eyes widened in horror as she stepped forward. "You shouldn't be here. You cannot. Stop! You don't understand!" Isabelle's voice quaked with intensity, cutting through her mother's protests. "I know everything. I remember." Alice's pulse raced. "What do you mean? How can you remember?" "I saw things. Things I shouldn't have. Your mother, Dr. Parker. They're not who you think they are." Isabelle looked directly into Alice's eyes, her own filled with an urgency that sparked a frightening sense of dread. "They're involved in something dark." "What?" Alice's world felt like quicksand. The pieces were shifting again, unraveling before her. "What are you talking about?" Isabelle took a deep breath, steadying herself. "There are powerful people who want to keep the truth buried. I wasn't just taken. I was part of their plan to erase something." "What kind of plan?" "They were keeping me alive, Alice, to ensure secrets stayed hidden. Secrets that tie our families together in ways you can't imagine." Mary stepped closer, horror morphing her face into something unrecognizable. "No, Isabelle, you need to go!" But Isabelle shook her head fiercely. "I won't! If you don't listen, they won't hesitate to come for you too. They'll bury everyone who knows. You think I was just hiding? I was running for my life." Dr. Parker shifted uneasily, casting a nervous glance down the hallway as if expecting someone to arrive. "You need to leave now, Isabelle. There's no time." Alice's heart sank. What did they all know? What had her mother pulled her into? The air felt thick with chaos, each breath more suffocating. Before Alice could process it all, a chilling sound echoed through the hallway. Footsteps, thunderous and approaching. "Who's there?" Alice whispered, suddenly terrified as the doorframe seemed to meld with shadows. "They're here! They found us!" Isabelle's voice trembled. Panic surged through the group as the footsteps grew louder, closer. Mary grabbed Alice's arm, jolting her. "We need to hide, now!" But in that split second, the door swung open wider. Two figures stepped into the light, faces familiar. Faces Alice wished she could forget. Officers from the police department, but instead of helping, they stood with an unsettling certainty. "Alice Cooper and Isabelle Parker!" The officer's voice was cold, devoid of any warmth. "You're under arrest!" Time froze. The revelation ripped through Alice like a blade. She turned to her mother, eyes wide with betrayal, her heart flooding with confusion. "What? Why?" Isabelle glanced back at Mary, her gaze steely. "I told you, no one is safe, not anymore." The weight of the situation crashed over Alice, the pieces twisting painfully in her mind. The world had fractured around her, leaving nothing but dark unknowns. Who were the real monsters? And was she tangled in a web far more sinister than she could have ever imagined? The only certainty left was chaos, and Alice was at its center. All she could do was hope for the truth to emerge from the darkness. But at what cost? Alice stood there, breath hitching in her throat, as the officer's words hung heavy like shadows in the room. The thought of being arrested sent panic rushing through her veins. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing her dread. "Isabelle, no!" Mary shouted, stepping forward, desperation painted on her face. "You shouldn't have come back!" But Isabelle's gaze burned with defiance. "This is about survival. You can't hide the truth anymore." The officers exchanged glances, their eyes hardening. "Step away from the door, Miss Parker," one commanded, voice steely. Alice's mind whirled, feeling the floor wobble beneath her. What did Isabelle know? What was snapping apart in their lives? The looming threat of arrest felt cold and bitter. Anger ignited in her belly, fueled by confusion. "You can't arrest us! We're innocent!" she yelled. But the words felt weak and hollow. Dr. Parker shifted closer, his brow furrowed. "Listen, there are things you don't know about Isabelle's past." But before he could finish, the air turned electric. The front door burst open again, this time with a force that rattled the frame. A figure rushed in, silhouetted against the dim light, breathing heavily as panic flickered in his eyes. "Mom! Alice!" It was Robert, her older brother, lost in the chaos of it all. He stumbled into the hallway, eyes wide with fear. "They're coming! You have to run!" "What do you mean?" Alice gasped, shock mixing with uncertainty. "Who's coming?" Robert swallowed hard, glancing at Isabelle, his jaw tensed. "It's not just the police. They're after her and us!" "We have to leave now, before it's too late." Confusion swallowed Alice whole. "What are you talking about? Remember the stories? The dark ones about the Cooper family and the Parkers?" Robert's voice crackled with urgency. "The secrets buried in this town go deeper than we ever knew. It's about to explode." Isabelle's face paled, a tremor passing through her. "No, they can't find me. If they do?" Before she could finish, two more figures stepped through the doorway, the tension exploding in a heartbeat. Their faces were familiar, but twisted by sinister smiles. It was Ethan and Clara, friends from school, but they looked nothing like themselves. They wore shades of darkness, eyes alight with something chaotic. "Surprise, Alice!" Ethan sneered, his voice smooth yet chilling. Did you really think you would escape? What? What? Alice took a step back, confusion melting into horror. What are you doing here? Clara laughed, but it was cold, void of any warmth. We always knew you'd find out. The truth has a way of spilling, doesn't it? In that moment, clarity struck Alice like lightning. You were in on this, weren't you? You knew about Isabelle, about everything. Isabelle's breath quickened, panic rising. They're lying. Don't listen to them. But before any further words could escape, the light above flickered and dimmed, casting shadows that danced wildly. The murmurs of the officers grew tense, uncertainty creeping closer. Then, with a sudden tremor, the ground beneath them shook. A loud thud resonated from deep within the house, as if the very walls were weeping. Alice felt the air drain away, and in that moment of paralysis, a deafening crash reverberated through the hallway. The family portraits lining the wall fell, shattering like glass hearts. Time seemed to stretch, then snap back. In that fleeting breath, Alice's world spun into chaos as the door swung in, revealing a swirling darkness behind. Like a portal into the unknown. "Get back!" Robert yelled, but it was too late. The shadows surged forth, consuming everything in their path, dancing in wild abandon, banishing all familiar shapes into an abyss. Alice stood frozen, watching her mother vanish into the dark, her brothers scream. The silhouettes of Ethan and Clara twisted and elongated, mocking her. You can't escape what's been set in motion, Alice. The truth is darker than you think. As the darkness crashed around them, Alice's mind spiraled, shadows and whispers intertwining. Suddenly, she felt Isabelle's grip tighten. You have to remember, Alice, they're not just after me. They want you, too. Why? Alice screamed as chaos swirled. Isabelle met her gaze, fear giving way to resolve. Because the truth is, you're part of it all! And then, the darkness consumed everything. Alice stood frozen in terror, the shadows consuming everything around her. The darkness pulsed, swirling with an almost palpable hunger. She clutched Isabelle's hand, her heart racing, their eyes wide with fear as they faced the unknown. Then, from the depths of the dark, a blinding light exploded. Alice squinted against the brightness, barely able to discern shapes forming. Cries and gasps echoed, colliding with the chaotic atmosphere. Suddenly, the light dimmed, and in its wake stood a figure. Tall, imposing, with an air of authority that seemed to dismiss the chaos around him. Alice's breath caught in her throat. It was a man she never thought she'd see again. Dad? The moment felt surreal. Her father, who had left when she was young, stood there, eyes sharp and intense. Alice, Isabelle. His voice was steady, but something deeper simmered beneath the surface. We don't have much time. What are you doing here? The question slipped from her lips before she could think. Listen to me, he said, stepping closer. I've been watching you all. There are forces at play you don't understand. Forces connected to our family, to you. Alice's heart hammered in her chest, confusion and rage flooding through her. You just vanished, and now you want us to trust you? I didn't have a choice, Alice. His eyes were pleading. I was trying to protect you. You become a target once you learn the truth, and you're closer to it than you think. Isabelle gasped, stepping back. "Your father, he knows something!" Before Alice could respond, the darkness writhed in fury. The officers shifted, muscles tense, as if sensing a shift in power. One of them, a familiar face from school, stepped forward. "What does he know? What does any of this mean?" "Alice," her father said urgently, "the Cooper family has been hiding a truth for generations. A truth that connects you to the Parkers in ways you can't imagine. You're part of something much bigger." "Bigger? How can this get any bigger?" Alice shot back, feeling her world tilt further. "What is it?" His eyes lowered, a haunted look crossing his face. "I didn't want to tell you, but Isabelle's disappearance wasn't just a random act. It was orchestrated." The confession dropped like a bombshell. Breathless, Alice could hardly grasp the weight of his words. Orchestrated? By who? "People who will stop at nothing to keep their secrets." He glanced around, paranoia etched in his voice. "You and Isabelle hold the key to change everything." Suddenly, a flicker of doubt crossed Alice's mind. "Maybe you're part of it," she accused. Voice trembling. "Maybe you disappeared because you wanted to hide too." "No!" he yelled, desperation clawing through his tone. "I never wanted this for you, but there are those who will use fear to control. Isabelle knows more than she realizes." Isabelle's face turned pale. "I don't know anything," she stammered, shaking her head. "I was just a girl, trying to escape." Then, without warning, the shadows surged forward again, swallowing figures whole. Someone screamed. The officers were stumbling back, chaos erupting. In that moment, her father lunged to protect Alice and Isabelle, shielding them as the darkness clawed at their reality. "You need to leave! You must trust each other!" He turned to the girls, urgency spilling from him. "And Alice, don't stop fighting! You are stronger than you realize!" The darkness roared in a desperate hunger. Alice felt the pull of it, everything inside her screaming to resist. But with her father standing before her, protecting her, she sensed fluidity in her world morphing. In that split second, a realization struck her like lightning. If her father was right, if all of this was tied together, then nothing was as it seemed. The web of lies stretched across time, tying families with shadows. But just then, a burst of light erupted again, and she felt a hard grip. Was it Isabelle or her father? Together, they were being pulled away from the darkness, ripped into the unknown. Just when she thought she could escape, a final scream echoed out, shaking her to the core. "Alice, remember us! Find the truth!" Then everything snapped. The world dissolved into blackness, leaving just one lingering thought in her mind. What truth was worth fighting for? The world dissolved into blackness, a suffocating cloak wrapping around Alice and Isabelle. But just as the darkness threatened to swallow them whole, she felt an unexpected jolt. A pull towards something beyond, something elusive yet powerful. Then, a flash of light erupted once more, sharper this time, cutting through the void. Alice blinked against the brightness, trying to gain her bearings. The chaotic whispers faded into an eerie silence. She could barely see Isabelle beside her, her face a mask of fear. "Where are we?" Alice gasped, heart racing. The light pulsed, as if alive, shifting and swirling like a storm of energy. "I don't know," Isabelle screamed, panic rising in her voice. "But I think—" Before she could finish, the light collapsed in on itself with the grand estate, but everything felt off. The walls seemed taller, the air heavier. Alice's thoughts raced. This is home! But it wasn't the home she remembered. The dark corners now felt more menacing, shadows creeping along the ornate wallpaper like fingers trying to grab them. "Quick! We need to get out of here," Alice said, trembling, glancing at Isabelle. But Isabelle shook her head, eyes wide. "We can't just leave. We have to uncover the truth. Here!" Just then, a door swung open at the end of the hall. Eyes wide, Alice turned to see her mother, Mary, standing in the doorway. But the sight was jarring. Mary wore a smile painted with shadows of something sinister. "Alice," her mother's voice dripped with honeyed sweetness, but Alice could sense the edge beneath it. "You're home. So glad to see you." "What's happening?" Alice demanded, confusion tightening in her chest. "You shouldn't be here." "Can't you see, sweetheart? All is well now." There was an unearthly calm around Mary, a peace that didn't fit the chaos swirling inside Alice. "You've both come to understand." Understand? The grip of dread squeezed her tighter. Understand what? Just then, an unexpected scream erupted from behind Mary, a voice Alice never thought she would hear again. "Mom! Alice!" It was Robert, but he was different. His eyes were wild, fear etched deep in his features. He rushed into the room, but as he did, his expression shifted to relief that morphed quickly into horror. "You can't trust her! None of this is real!" "What do you mean?" Alice's stomach twisted, the air thickening. "They're trying to manipulate you!" "Ha ha ha!" Robert yelled, backing away from their mother. "You have to listen to me." But suddenly, Mary stepped forward, a glimmer of something dark flashing in her eyes. "Enough!" Her voice boomed, shaking Alice's resolve. "Look at what you've stumbled into. You were never supposed to find out." "Find out what?" Isabelle cried, backing away, breath quickening. A silence draped over the room, heavy and suffocating. Just then, Mary's demeanor shifted again, her smile flickering to something more sinister, a crack revealing a glimpse of a monstrous truth. "You're part of something far greater than you can imagine, and it's time you realize how deep this goes." Alice felt a cold wave wash over her. "What did you do?" "The betrayal sliced through her like ice." "Your father was right about one thing," Mary replied, her voice smooth as silk, yet brimming with menace. "You are tied to the Parkers by blood. Isabelle is not just a girl. She's a part of us." Time froze as the reality crashed over Alice. Blood? The revelations rattled in her mind. What? She could hardly comprehend the weight of those words. "You can't mean—" But before she could finish her thought, the ground trembled again. And with a rush, memories flooded back, shadows of their childhood, secrets buried deeply, every whispered truth, Every question she had ever silenced collided within her mind. This can't be real. Robert stepped further into the light, panic etched on his face. It's true, we've been living a lie. And just like that, Alice realized she was standing at the precipice of something far worse than she'd ever feared. This wasn't just about Isabelle or secrets in the dark. It was about them all. But as the truth unfolded, a chilling chill struck the air. They were not alone. The shadows began to form again, creeping closer, hungry for resolve. "I won't let them take me back!" Isabelle screamed, a defiance burning in her eyes. Alice turned to her mother one last time, trying to find a sliver of that warm love she once knew. Instead, she saw a monster staring back. "Is it true?" Mary's eyes darkened. "You'll understand. In time, we all will." And then, just like that, the darkness surged forward. The shadows clawed at their heels, igniting a desperation. In that moment of chaos, a new question loomed above them. If they were bound by blood, could they ever truly break free? Or was the truth itself a trap that would forever bind them to their family's darkest secrets? The darkness surged closer, a swirling mass of confusion and fear. Alice felt the shadows clawing at her heels, an icy grip that urged her to flee. The air crackled with tension, closing in as if the walls themselves wanted to trap them in this nightmare. "Get away from her!" Robert shouted, stepping forward. But the shadows only curled tighter, hungry for their fear. Alice's heart raced as she glanced at Isabelle, and then back to Mary, whose smile twisted grotesquely in the dim light. "No, please!" Alice's voice trembled as she tugged Isabelle closer. "We can't trust her!" Mary's expression hardened, and in that same breath, the ground trembled again. The shadows froze for just a moment, and silence fell heavy. Then a low, guttural growl reverberated through the air, shaking Alice to her core. It came from beyond the door, from the depths of the dark. "What was that?" Isabelle whispered, her voice barely audible. Robert's eyes widened, panic flaring in his expression. "We need to leave! Now!" But before any of them could decide, the door burst open wide, and a figure stepped through. The moment froze, Alice's breath catching in her throat. It was a woman, but not just any woman. She looked just like Mary, yet her eyes were wild, filled with an intensity that was completely foreign. "Mom!" Alice gasped, instinctively stepping back. "Who are you?" Mary hissed, a fierce protectiveness rising in her voice. "What are you doing here?" The doppelganger paused, one hand gripping the doorframe, her face a mask of anguish. "I'm here to save you," she breathed, her voice raw with desperation. "Save us." Mary spat, her eyes narrowing. "From what?" "From your lies," the woman screamed. "You've been playing this game for too long. They're coming for you. All of you." Alice felt her world spin. "What do you mean?" Just then, the shadows began to pulse, drawing closer, reacting to the woman's presence. She turned to Alice, a desperate plea in her expression. "You need to remember, Alice. In another life, we were family, twins separated by a truth that would destroy everything." Alice staggered back, the weight of the revelation knocking the breath from her lungs. Twins! That's not possible! But as realization dawned, the corners of her memory began to ripple. Images flashed. A little girl with a matching necklace. A faded photograph hidden beneath her mother's things. A bond she never understood. "No! You can't be!" Alice's voice faltered, the world rocking beneath her. "Isabelle, run!" Mary screamed, but the woman stepped closer, shaking her head fiercely. "No! This is the only chance. You need to remember your true family, Alice. They're not who you think. You weren't adopted. You lived in the dark for too long." The shadows writhed in rage, as if disturbed by the mere utterance of the truth. Alice felt dizzy, her heart racing. Everything she thought she knew was unraveling fast. "Stop!" Robert cried, stepping forward, eyes darting nervously between the two women. "We don't have time for this." But the woman pressed on, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You have to choose, Alice. Truth or the darkness that will consume you." The shadows grew thicker, the air hot with a dark intensity. Mary lunged forward, eyes ablaze. "You have no right to come here, you imposter. You don't belong." The woman's expression crumpled, but she stood firm. "And yet here I am, the ghost of your past, to pull you from this twisted fate." Suddenly, the shadows exploded, spilling forth a horrific creature, shaped by all the darkness that bound them. Alice screamed, a visceral fear tearing through her as she instinctively reached for Isabelle. But before they could react, the creature lunged, and everything fell into chaos once again. Alice's world spun in a dance of dread. All around her, the fabric of reality distorted, leaving behind a single haunting question. What if the bonds of blood tied them to a darkness far greater than any of them had ever imagined? The darkness exploded around them, and Alice felt the creature surge forward. It was a horrific mass of shadows, screaming to consume their reality. In that split second, her heart raced and fear clawed at her throat. "Run!" she screamed, grabbing Isabelle's hand, pulling her toward a flickering light at the end of the hallway. Robert followed close behind, but the shadows lunged, their howling echoing like a banshee's wail. "Go, I'll hold it back," Robert shouted, taking a step away. "No, come with us," Alice cried, feeling desperation swell within her. But Robert stood firm, fear etched across his face. "You have to believe me. I'll be fine. Just go!" And then, as he turned to confront the darkness, the figure, the other Mary, dashed past them, charging into the oncoming shadows. "Stop!" Alice screeched, but it was too late. The chaos swallowed Robert whole. A pulse of despair wrapped around Alice, and she yanked Isabelle toward safety. "We can't leave him," she shouted, panic thick in her voice. But before they could run, another voice erupted, powerful and commanding, exploding through the shadows. "Enough!" The air shimmered and crackled. Suddenly, the creature jerked back, recoiling from the force of the voice. The darkness fissured, and for a moment, Alice could see the two Marys standing fierce against the abyss. "Mother!" The newcomer bellowed, and in an instant, the darkness parted. In stepped a tall man, fierce and regal, a mirror image of the woman Alice knew as her mother. "Father?" Alice gasped, disbelief painting her features. "Yes, my child. It's time to reclaim what was lost." His aura radiated command, pulling the shadows apart, like the dawn breaking over the night. But then, Everything changed. In a flash, lightning striking the ground. "No!" the other Mary cried, eyes wide, betrayal twisting her features. "You can't be here! You left!" The world around them shuddered, and Alice's mind raced. "What's going on?" Barely able to hear past the chaos, the other Mary screamed over the din. "You thought you could just leave me behind? You think you can simply return and claim her?" The shadows quivered, the air thick with tension, and Alice fought to understand. "Are you two sides of the same coin?" The answer came crashing down, harder than the darkness. "I didn't just leave," her father roared, his voice rising in fury. "I had to protect her. From you." "What do you mean?" Alice stumbled, feeling reality crush in on her. But in that charged moment, another pulse of energy erupted from the other Mary. The unthinkable. "Alice, listen," she begged, desperation cracking her composure. "You're not just part of this. You are the key." The words hit like a thunderclap. Key? To what? And then everything spiraled. A brief flash, and in an explosive wave, memories surged through Alice. The truth so shocking, it made her knees buckle. In the heart of the chaos, Alice realized she had been the one orchestrating the disappearance all along, driven by a darkness inherited from her bloodline, a power she had never understood. "No!" she gasped, denial coating her voice. But as her father stepped forward, he pulled back a shadow, revealing a truth that sent her heart plummeting. "You are the bridge between these worlds, between light and the darkness. This will decide everything." It was too much. Everything Alice thought she knew shattered, disintegrated into nothingness. A sudden wave of unease washed over her, clutching and compressing her heart. "I don't know what to believe anymore." The dark shadows swirled, ominous whispers grazing her ears, and in that moment, Alice felt the ground begin to tremble beneath her feet. The world careened in chaos, leaving behind only one question. If she was indeed the key, then what dark door was she about to unlock? The darkness pulsed around Alice like a living thing. Every shiver in the air brought with it a sense of dread. The looming shadows whispering secrets she wasn't ready to hear. Her heart raced as she stared at her father and the doppelganger of her mother, both of whom were caught in this fierce confrontation that threatened to tear reality apart. "Listen to me, Alice," her father shouted over the chaos. "You need to embrace who you are." The shadows coiled tighter, almost anticipating the words. Suddenly, Alice felt a pang in her chest. Memories, fugitive glances, the scent of damp earth, a warm hand on her back, flooded in like an unrestrained tide. "Now is not the time," Mary bellowed, her voice seething with rage. But that was when it happened. A blinding flash erupted from deep within the shadows, illuminating every corner of the room. All eyes turned toward it, the air crackling with anticipation. The shadows recoiled, but then they surged forward, as if drawn to something devastatingly powerful. And then, out of the light, a figure stepped forward. Alice's breath hitched. It was her grandmother, a woman long thought to be dead, yet as real and fierce as ever. "Mabel!" Her father's voice broke into disbelief. You didn't think I would stay quiet, did you? Her grandmother's voice rang out, calm and commanding, yet echoing with heartbreak. The truth must come to light. What truth? Alice whispered, confusion clashing with rising hope. Her heart threatened to burst from her chest. Your family is far more entwined than you can imagine, Mabel declared, her voice slicing through the tension. You all carry the weight of a legacy, one that needs to be reclaimed. Isabelle stepped forward, trembling. What are you talking about? We need to escape this nightmare. But Mabel shook her head, a knowing look in her eyes. You can't run. You're stronger than the monster lurking in these shadows. In that moment, Alice felt something shift inside her. The nights spent trembling in dreams, the shadows that haunted her. This was their answer. With each word from Mabel, Alice felt fragments of truth click into place. She could feel it in her bones. Then everything changed. With a sudden roar, the creature in the shadows lunged, snapping at Mabel with otherworldly fury. But instead of backing away, Mabel stood her ground, arms extending wide like a shield. No, I will not let this happen, she shouted, sending a pulse of energy that rippled through the darkness. A brilliant light erupted from her, illuminating the room and temporarily scattering the shadows. Alice felt a surge of power surge through her veins, igniting an urge to fight back. But then, a gasp echoed through the chaos. Isabelle staggered, her hand clutching her chest, eyes brimming with unshed tears. No, no, it can't be! Alice whipped her head around, panic gripping her. What's happening? Suddenly, Isabelle fell to her knees, gasping for breath. The light flickering ominously around her. I remember! Her voice cracked, revealing a horrified recognition. I'm not just Isa. I'm a part of her too. Silence slammed into the room. The weight of that revelation hung thick in the air. Alice's knees felt weak. What do you mean? She stammered, disbelief washing over her. Isabelle's lips quivered, desperate for air. The truth! It runs deeper than blood. My life has always been tied to yours, Alice. I am part of your family's legacy too. We're linked. We share a bond meant to control the darkness. Flashes of memory collided, then shattered. Alice's world spun anew, color swirling and fading. Her family's past was not just twisted. It was a machinery of dark intentions with them at the heart. The shadows trembled around them, writhing in a frenzy of frustration, as if realizing that the truth was breaking free. What if I am the monster? Alice gasped, shock and horror mingling. And then, from behind her, Mabel whispered, "No, my dear, you could be the light." A fight began, but now the stakes had taken on new life. The air thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. Were they trapped forever in their family's curse? And now, with this impossible truth hovering over them, where would they find their salvation, if any existed at all? The shadows recoiled as Mabel's light pulsed through the room, illuminating the faces of Alice, Isabelle, and Robert. Fear and resolve intertwined in Alice's chest, pushing her forward. "Isabelle!" she shouted, desperation flooding her voice. "We have to channel this power. We can't let the darkness win." Isabelle nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. Together, Mabel's presence surged, wrapping around them like a protective halo. She met Alice's gaze, her expression resolute. Believe in the light within you, Alice. You carry the legacy, but you chart your path. With that, Alice felt energy coursing through her. It was electric, a connection to every moment she'd ever felt darkness, the anger, the sorrow, but most importantly, the love that surrounded her. She grasped Isabelle's hand firmly. "We can do this." The creature howled, twisting violently in the shadows. It lunged forward, teeth snapping. But now, Alice was not afraid. As one, they stepped forward, the light brimming between them. "You're not the master here," Alice cried. "We are." With their united will, the light exploded. It shattered the darkness into shards, revealing hidden corners of secrets, lives entangled, histories interwoven. The creature wavered, hesitating in the face of their strength. "Do it, Alice!" Robert yelled, his voice piercing through the chaos. "Embrace your power." In a breathless moment, Alice called upon everything she was: childhood memories, laughter, moments of pain, and painted a picture of unity. "This ends now!" she shouted, her voice echoing with authority. The energy surged into two radiant beams, one from Alice and one from Isabelle, curving together like a rainbow. They struck the creature like a meteor, bright and fierce. With a deafening roar, the shadows erupted, dissipating into nothingness. Everything stilled. The grand estate returned to its former beauty, sunlight pouring through the windows, casting warmth over the room. The oppressive weight lifted, leaving a palpable relief. Mabel smiled softly, a hint of pride in her eyes. "You have broken the cycle." Alice blinked hard, feeling the tears spill down her cheeks. "Can I trust that this is real? That we are free?" "Believe it," Mabel said, reaching out to embrace her. "You've turned the tide, Alice. Control lies in the truth, and together you will be stronger than the shadows." Robert stepped closer, hugging Alice tightly. "We did it. By banding together, we broke the chains." Isabelle grinned, relief washing over them in waves. "We're really free? I can finally be me?" "Yes," Alice laughed, unable to hold back her joy. "Let's make sure we keep it that way." But just as they began to breathe easy, a whisper drifted in the room, cold and lingering. "The darkness will never fully relent." The echoes of what could come twisted through Alice's heart again. Had they truly finished the fight? She looked around, her family united, yet the shadow of what once was loomed still. "We are ready," she vowed, strength in her voice. "No matter what comes next, we'll face it together." With newfound clarity, they stepped forward, embracing the light as they emerged from the estate, promising to protect their bond. Though the road ahead was uncertain, Alice knew they would unravel the mysteries yet to come. Now, that's the end of this journey, but the adventure might just be beginning. You must subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next incredible story. Press that like button right now to help us feed the algorithm and keep this amazing content alive. I want to hear your thoughts. Flood that comment section with your reactions and theories about what happens next. And don't wait 1 second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Let's keep our community growing and thriving. Only T.